The Legend of Germania's Healing Heart. The story is brought to you by Hugglesby Stories.
The Bitter King. Long ago, in the land of Germania, King Ludwig ruled over a powerful kingdom. Once a beloved king, Ludwig's heart had grown cold after his wife betrayed him. In his grief and anger, he made a cruel decision. Each night he would marry a new bride, and each morning she would be executed. This was his way of protecting himself from further heartbreak. The people of the kingdom, which had been under Roman influence for centuries, were shocked and terrified by this decree. Mathilda's plan. In the court of King Ludwig was Hartwig, the king's trusted chancellor. His daughter, Mathilda, had grown up watching the king from afar. She remembered the man he had been before his heart turned bitter and cruel. Mathilda believed that there was still goodness in the king, hidden deep beneath his anger. One evening, after hearing that Ludwig needed a new bride, Mathilda made a bold decision. She told her father, "I must marry the king." Hartwig was horrified, but Mathilda was determined to try to save the king. The first night. That night, Mathilda entered Castle Allahheim, a grand fortress built long ago under Roman rule. Its thick stone walls and great halls reflected the Roman architecture of old Germania. King Ludwig, wrapped in furs, sat upon his throne, his face stern and distant. As they ate, Mathilda observed the king closely. His eyes were cold and distrustful, but Mathilda remained calm, for she had a plan. As the stars appeared in the night sky, Mathilda broke the silence, offering to tell the king a story. Intrigued, Ludwig agreed. The redemption. Mathilda began to tell the story of a merchant from Augsburg who, while traveling through the Black Forest, was trapped by a vengeful spirit. The merchant, fearing for his life, shared tales of love, loss, and redemption. As the story unfolded, Ludwig's rigid posture began to soften, though he tried to hide his growing interest. Mathilda's tale, filled with meaning, reflected the king's own inner torment. But as dawn approached, she paused, leaving the story unfinished. The king demanded more, and she asked to continue the next night. The power of stories. Each night, Mathilda returned to the king's chambers and told him a new story drawn from Germanic and Roman tales. She spoke of brave knights, wise queens, and the consequences of betrayal. In every story, there was a lesson about forgiveness, trust, and the possibility of healing. King Ludwig listened carefully, though he didn't want to admit it. Over time, he found himself waiting for the evenings, not because of the promise of death, but because of the stories. Mathilda's words began to soften the hard walls around his heart. As the days turned into weeks, the court began to notice a change in the king. In Germania, weddings were sacred, influenced by both Roman and Christian customs. Marriages were celebrated with feasts, music, and blessings from the church. The bride and groom exchanged vows, often standing on a cloth called a camenus, symbolizing their journey together. Mathilda and Ludwig were not yet married, but the court began to whisper about their connection. Each night, Mathilda lived to see another day, and the executions had ceased. Breaking the silence. One evening, after finishing a tale about a queen who forgave a great betrayal, Mathilda asked the king a question that had been on her mind. "Your Majesty, do you believe a heart can heal after it has been broken?" Ludwig's face hardened at the question, but he did not turn away. "I do not know," he said, his voice low. "Trust, once broken, is never the same again." Mathilda looked into his eyes, seeing the pain buried deep within him. "Perhaps trust is not as fragile as you think, my lord," she said gently. The choice. On a starry night, after another story of two lovers who overcame great trials, Ludwig's heart finally opened. He turned to Mathilda, his voice soft. "You have taught me more than I ever thought possible, Mathilda. You have healed wounds I believed would never heal." Tears filled Mathilda's eyes. "And you, my king, have shown me that even the hardest hearts can learn to love again." As the first light of dawn crept over the hills, Ludwig made his final decree: Mathilda shall not be executed. She will be my queen, my equal, and my partner. The dawn of a new era. Their marriage, celebrated in a grand medieval wedding filled with Roman and Germanic traditions, became a symbol of a new beginning for Germania. Together, King Ludwig and Queen Mathilda ruled with wisdom and compassion, restoring peace and trust to the land. Mathilda's stories had saved the king's soul, and their love brought hope to the kingdom. The tale of Mathilda and King Ludwig lived on for generations, told in the halls of castles and around hearths, as a story of love, redemption, and the power of words to heal.
If you enjoyed the story, share the story with your friends. Subscribe to Hugglesby Stories. We appreciate your comments, likes, sharing Hugglesby Stories with your friends, and as a whole your entire time spent with us. We believe we could make you happy with our Hugglesby Stories. See you again with another story by Hugglesby Stories.